This is Zach Harris for The Love of Sports on Fox Sports 980, 95.9 FM. Thank you all for tuning in to the podcast. Just a couple of topics that I really wanted to go over. Bill Belichick. Some weirdness happened between the Bill Belichick and Atlanta Falcons, and I think this was a great move by Arthur Blank, and I'm going to explain why. So, for those of you that don't know, Arthur Blank is the owner of the Atlanta Falcons. They had two, I'm going to call them dates for all intents and purposes of what I'm about to tell you. So, Arthur Blank had two dates with Bill Belichick. You know, they flirted a little bit. They liked each other. They were getting feel out for each other. Ultimately, Arthur Blank decided that he did not want to be a rebound. So, have you ever had a girl in mind that you really liked, but she was always in a relationship? That's Bill Belichick. A lot of people envied what Bill Belichick had, coaching-wise, with New England. A lot of people envied that. And from the outside looking in, yeah, that's the girl of my dreams. That's the coach of my dreams. And finally, she's available. You know, after years of being with the same guy where, yeah, you know, sometimes they had some very great highs. They've also had some lows as well as of recent. It just seems like they've been together a little bit too long, and there wasn't a ring in their future, so they decided to part ways. That's exactly what happened. The girl and the guy were together far too long. Now that girl, your dream girl, is out there. She's available. But you also know she's not really over her ex, so she's just trying to jump on the next train to go straight forward. And I think from that perspective, Arthur Blank did a tremendous job saying, listen, we're not here to be a rebound. We want a relationship. And if you can't give us a relationship, then we're going to have to move on into a different direction. Although you may be my dream girl, and as beautiful as you are, I have to move on to a girl that has more substance or more ready for me at this current time to take the leap with me. Because you look around at some of the coaching hires. Let's take Dan Campbell with the Lions, for example. Dan Campbell, when he became the head coach of the Lions, it was all about forefront unity. Everybody bought into that situation. It wasn't just Dan Campbell's our head coach. All right, let's see what he can be as a head coach. It was Dan Campbell's our head coach. He brings this hard-nosed mentality of not giving up. We might not win a game, but we're going to give it our all. We're going to keep batting them down until we have a chance to win a game. What did he say? Out in the ocean, we're just going to keep biting pieces, and we're just going to keep coming up for air, and eventually we're going to be the last one treading water. They went all in on Dan Campbell, from the front office all the way down to the players. What they did in the draft, they said, all right, Jahmyr Gibbs, Laporta, Brian Branch, we don't care where the draft boards have these guys going. They fit what Dan Campbell is, what Dan Campbell wants, and that's what we're going to do. That is a relationship. That is a team relationship between everybody that's on the same page. If that's what wasn't going to happen in Atlanta, then I applaud Arthur Blank for doing what he did. Because this, at the end of the day, is a relationship between your office, the players, and the head coach. And if you don't see that working as a unity, then you got to move on. And I think Bill Belichick was just trying to jump on the next thing to continue to keep coaching. Now, ultimately, for the Atlanta Falcons, they didn't want to be the rebound. They wanted a guy that was going to come in and that everybody was going to be able to buy in. If they brought in a guy like Bill Belichick, he was going to want complete control. We all know that controlling girl. Yeah, it may work for a minute, but then eventually things go awry. We don't want the controlling girl in this situation. Although it's nice, she's my dream girl, she's beautiful, she's hot, she's perfect, I've been wanting her for years, but ultimately, I went with the other girl that had more substance, the girl that I know wanted to grow with me. As much as they grow as a head coach, as much as he grows as a head coach, I want the team to grow. I want somebody that's going to buy in, a player's coach. So that relationship is established between the players, the coach, and the front office. So I tremendously, this cannot be understated, applaud Arthur Blank for what he did. Why do I keep saying Frank? Arthur Blank for what he did. Because you flirted with your dream girl, you had a couple of dates, and you realized she's not over her ex. She's just looking to jump on the next thing to get over her ex. And that's not going to be the Atlanta Falcons. So ultimately, we got to do what's best for the Atlanta Falcons. We got to put ourselves in a better situation for somebody that's okay with themselves, that's ready for a relationship. And that's exactly what they did. They moved on from the guy that wasn't ready for a relationship and said, hey, I'm ready for a full-term relationship on our terms, not your terms, but our terms together as a team. This is what we plan for the team as a whole, between the front office, head coach, and the players. Bill Belichick wasn't ready to make that commitment. He wanted things done systematically his way. He wanted full control. He wanted to be able to bring in his players. And let's be honest, you hear so much talk about their head coach that they currently have, Raheem Morris, how much of a player coach he is. People are going to buy in. I'm not saying this is going to be the Dan Campbell effect, but I'm going to tell you that as a unity on the forefront, this is the better working opportunity for the Atlanta Falcons, a team that is still building. They have a lot of talented pieces in there, but ultimately they are still building for the future to be a contender. Now, how much would it have set them back if they got a controlling girlfriend in there and maybe taken away a little bit of your personality? Yeah, that remains to be seen, and that won't be seen because ultimately they made the right move and they moved forward with going with Raheem Morris, which I thought was a great decision. So it was just kind of an awkward end, but tremendous respect to Arthur Blank out there, who flirted with the dream girl and ultimately decided, I'm not going to be a rebound. I want a relationship. I'm ready for a relationship. I don't want to keep going from coach to coach. I want a relationship. And I think with Raheem Morris, the guy that is a player's coach, player's mentality, who is a very well-respected person inside the NFL, not by just players, but front offices and other coaches around the league, I think this was a great move. It was just weird how it was spun and turned around and how it happened. Hey, you had 2 flirts. He went on 2 dates. It seemed like late night dates. I don't know if anything came about it, but ultimately they didn't want to be the rebound. They didn't want to be that person to help you get over your ex. They didn't want to be a stop before your final stop. And that, I tremendously, so much respect for Arthur Blank and that organization for ultimately doing what was right for them.